Hello, everyone. I was thinking about recently um, what I would do for content in terms of reading because I've read most passages in this because this book came out nearly 2 years ago on here in some form or another. So, what could I do differently? So, I thought, well, I'm just going to read the whole thing in little short 3 minute passages every day or almost every day. Sometimes I might read something from another work, but I thought this would give me quite a lot of content if I did it that way. So, this is Chapter 1, The Confession of my book, Silent Reckoning. Before I was even a whisper in my mother's thoughts, it seemed as if the world had already forgotten me. I was born on August 25th, 1893. The world was completely different then. I still recall the echoes of the horses in the streets, the gallant way in which they trotted along the pavements. The air was clean, almost unnaturally so, and there seemed to be a radiant innocence to almost everything. The clouds in the sky, possibly in response to the purities in our hearts, were enchantingly serene. On and on the days shimmered, never once beholden to the shadows of midnight. All day long I heard soft piano music. The sunlight orchestrated the euphoric melodies, intensifying their auspicious cadences. There was no pain, there was no heartbreak. Whatever darkness existed, whatever melancholy drifted through my frivolous gestures, was ultimately drowned out by the hymns of morning. My mother had a very strident nature. In various ways, I suppose, she was truly the last of the great Victorian matriarchs. Her expressions were always meticulously conceptualized, having an almost regal disposition. She came from practically nothing, at least from what I understand, but there was always a noble effervescence in her rapport with the world. As I watched her slender fingertips graze over the piano, I often thought to myself, why are the most beautiful flowers always so fragile? Yes, on the shallow surface she maintained a resilient composition, both in manner and in posture, but just beneath the surface of her rubescent cheeks, to her utter and eternal bereavement, existed a delicacy that not even the angels in heaven could expunge. It was her burden to bear, her cross to carry, and her demon to exorcise. One day, when I was about 5, I believe, I entered our small drawing room, my hands and feet trembling against the light swaying of the door. Just a few moments before, my ears had detected the faint sobbing of my mother. Up until that moment, I had never heard her express her emotions so passionately, so poignantly. It was as though all of the melancholy saturations in the world flourished in her visage, in her austere gaze, and in her in her austere elegance, and in her feline gaze. The evening light was fading, its rhetorical vigor replaced with the artificiality of timidity. The sophomoric candlelight enticed the pervasive twilight, creating a demure haze. The piano released melodic overtures of somber reckonings, completely in sync with the sultry glistenings. I recall, quite vividly in fact, that as my petite hand touched her soft robe, her cries seemed to intensify. Although I can't be precisely certain, it almost seemed as if I represented a spectral grievance from her past. My youthful presence, as opposed to being rife with blissful cultivations, only reminded her of the irrevocable travesties that weighed ardently on her pensive repose, at one time radiating an almost angelic luminosity. Her facial lustrousness succumbed to the grayish spectrums of licentious perditions, bereaving her of all beauty. And that is the end of part 1.